Behind every scream, every nightmare, lies a story. No one knows this better than Universal Creative, who every year sets out to build the scariest haunted houses on the planet. Sure, SeaWorld is going to try to tell you that they have the top Halloween event, but they've clearly spent the last few years huffing too much orca water. It says it! It says it! #1 best theme park Halloween event! You liars! You're liars! You're lying! Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Orlando brings together world-class haunted houses, loud music, sexy dancing, food, drunks, blinky cups, unruly teens, and then throws it all into a blender and pours it into a tall glass over ice and lets you drink it. I really lost that analogy somewhere around drunks. Fitting. This isn't Mickey's Not-So-Scary Halloween Party. This is a full-on assault on your senses. And the only way to experience it is to fly down to Universal and charge bravely into the fog. But what do you do after the sun rises? Sending all the demons and monsters back to their lairs to recharge for the next night of festivities. You wake up at 8 a.m. and you head over to the site of the former Nickelodeon studios and meet up with fellow ghouls to get a lights-on tour of this year's houses. The houses themselves are meticulously designed and developed by a team of amazing designers months and months in advance. Every wall, floor, prop, and costume are hand-built down to the smallest details, all contributing to the immersive environments. There are 2 tours, a 3-house tour featuring Triplets of Terror, the Museum Diddley Exhibits, and Slaughter Cinema 2, and a 6-house tour featuring Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, Insidious The Further, Monstruos, Monsters of Latin America, Goblin's Feast, Universal Monsters Eternal Bloodline, and Major Suites. That's the tour we went on, and now I'm gonna break open the vault and spill all the secrets that I learned over the course of 5 hours and a ton of walking. The best part? Universal can't stop me. Well, they can probably stop me, but they're way too busy trying to open Epic Universe to pay attention to what I'm doing. And spoiler alert, if you haven't gone yet and you want to go in completely clean, then turn back now! Wait, did I just tell you to turn off the video? Yeah, that seems dumb. So there are no spoilers ahead. Oh, okay, or maybe just let the video play and leave the room. We gotta work that algorithm. Just can't have you leave. So we got there around 8:30 a.m. and getting up was rough. For anyone that doesn't know, the Unmasking the Horror Tour starts at the former Blue Man Group Theater, which is actually the old Nickelodeon studios, the place every millennial kid wanted to visit in the 90s. All of those sound stages are still there too. There are a ton of historical artifacts. The room where they put you to wait for the tour to start is actually the finale of the old Nick Studios tour, where they played Double Dare. That morning there was no Double Dare. So instead of winning a trip to space camp,
Harvey, what's prize #1?
Mark will start him off from Coral Diving Products, quality silicone snorkeling sets for the whole family. Complete with masks and snorkels, great underwater fun, and it's from Coral Diving.
I was handed a headset and told to follow along out a set of double doors and into the Universal Studios backstage area. Up first, Insidious The Further. Might as well get this year's hands down scariest house out of the way at 9 in the morning. We got to inspect that giant red door, which, and what is the biggest secret I'm going to spill here, does not close. I tried. Nope, turns out that's just a giant wooden door. The house facade is fantastic and looks just as good with the lights on. And here's where the first secret comes into play. But first, we need to talk a little bit about 2 Easter eggs that Universal Creative hides in all of their houses. This year they were all named after desserts, and each house has their hidden dessert somewhere inside. Then there are the animals. Every year they choose an animal and then hide it somewhere in each house. This year there were hidden snails. Okay, so back to the Insidious house. And hidden to the left of the front door, on the porch, is the hidden Insidious snail. Look at him. So cute. Probably not even a ghost. So, how scary would ghost snails be? Inside the living room, we get a look at a nice family photo. Here's something to look for when you go through this house. Anytime you see a picture of Josh, just like in the movie, you're going to get an appearance by the bride in black. So be on the lookout for that. Or don't. I'm not here to tell you how to fight ghosts. Heading into the baby's room, we get to see the hidden dessert. This house is codenamed Pudding. And there it is. There's the pudding cup to prove it. See, I'm not lying to you. One of the things that makes this house so scary is that they took what is traditionally a final room scare and moved it early in the house. What's a final room scare? Imagine stepping into that last room from the Halloween house from a few years ago where it's filled with a ton of Michael Myers. Most are mannequins, but some are not. It's completely nerve-wracking trying to navigate through them all, knowing that one of them is going to lunge out at you. In Insidious, that's room 3. And they use this final room scare several times after that. It creates a ton of tension and makes you cautious to move forward. Now, the further isn't a very sanitary space. Moving into the jail cells from Insidious Chapter 3 reveals some amazing wall work. They use a technique that involves covering the walls with a latex paint, waiting for it to almost dry, and then blasting it with heat. It makes this cool peeling effect, and it's unfortunate that the majority of guests won't have time to really appreciate the artistry of something like this. That's the real strength of this tour. You really get to enjoy the work that goes into it. Speaking of which, almost everything gets trashed at the end of the season. All of this work is fleeting. It makes it that much more special knowing that these experiences will never be recreated the same way year after year. The cells here are great, including the cell here. It's a mirror scare, making the cell look twice as big as it actually is. Get past that beam and bam, jump scare. Another cool room is the red-faced demon's lair. There's a mannequin head that appears in this window, then drops down fast as a scare actor bursts through the curtains below. Another awesome, unique scare in this house. Next up was Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I didn't have the greatest run through in this house, so I was blown away by getting to spend some serious time wandering around the sets. When you enter the soundstage, you're looking at Ray's occult books. See how that floor is raised? For horror nights, they always avoid building on top of the house floor because that takes money and it eats into the budget of other rooms. And here they built this false floor to create the illusion that the sewer dragon is under you, blowing colored smoke out of the manhole covers. This hot dog cart has a rocker in it, suggesting that a popular green ghost might be going to town on some hot dogs. The whole house is filled with these cute little marshmallow men. Universal has a great relationship with the Ghostbusters production team, which is why we could take a ton of pics here. And one thing that's not allowed on the tour, touching those marshmallow men. And you can forget about eating any of them, which is like the only thing I wanted to do. The marshmallow men are all 3D printed. Some are static, some move. They're way too cute and totally nihilistic. These walls were all 3D printed on LexJet fabric. It's a special fabric that basically disappears when you shine light on it, revealing whatever scare is behind it. In this room, they're using it to show a bit of backstory. All of the snow here is using a technique called flocking. It's a special powder that is sprayed to make it look like snow and ice. I'm kind of thinking about doing this to my kitchen. As you walk in, you see a scare actor with a trigger scare. This is one of the triggers, which are used everywhere in these houses. When an actor steps on it, lighting and sound effects are triggered, making sure that every guest gets the exact same scare. Me personally, I just jump out and yell boo, which is why they never hire me. I shouldn't do that in the interview, really. In fact, I do it in every interview. I can't believe I got hired anywhere. That first scare is just a diversion, as this is also the first appearance of Graka coming at you from the other side. This is something I completely missed when I went through the house the first time. Phoebe is passed out in the containment unit, leading to a ghost Phoebe scare as you walk by. It's a great touch. And this room contains both the snail and the dessert. There's a snail over there in that beaker. And the dessert? Obviously, this house was codenamed S'mores. No matter how much I asked, they refused to let me take home a proton pack and a ghost trap. I guess they don't care about giving their guests expensive souvenirs. One great thing about using sound stages is that they let you build big, like this 20-foot tall firehouse. And across from it is an insane Graka on stilts. This is the giant door they used to load him into the boo hole. All of the Grakas are 3D printed from files from the actual production, so they look perfect. I couldn't take pics in the final room, but one of the features was an Ecto-1 crashing through the firehouse wall. The Ghostbusters team actually sent Universal one of only 25 movie cars that exist. And you know what they did with it? They cut it in half. Rude. Leaving Ghostbusters, we went straight into Monstruos. This house was at HHN Hollywood last year, so Orlando immediately called the other coast and had them ship a ton of props over to Florida. Saved a lot of money, but they're probably cursed, so that sucks. Or doesn't, because it's horror night, so it's just kind of added value. This modern Mexican town was really cool looking until we had to deal with all the dead babies. Dead babies are never as fun as you'd think, and I'm guessing that's why we couldn't take pics in these rooms. The dessert? Come on, it looks delicious. Further in the house, you have Il Sabon, the whistler that takes vengeance against drunks, pulling their bones out of their backs and adding them to his bag of bones. I like to carry around a bag of chips. Totally different vibe. Most of the time when you see a piano in a Horror Nights house, it's fake. Now this one, I wasn't allowed to play it because I never learned how. There are some Easter eggs in the bar. There are a few bottles of liquor that might look familiar. Lazy Bastard Bourbon appeared in last year's Darkest Deal and HHN 30's legendary Truth House. W Spirits is the witch's brew that was being distilled in 31's Spirit of the Coven. These business cards on the bar, they're the names of HHN creatives, including Manuel Cordero, lead designer for Monstruos. The mid-transformation La Lechuza was the only costume that was not barred from Hollywood. You know why? Because that scene is exclusive to Orlando. This here is the first fully animatronic prop in any HHN house ever. You may think there are other ones, but all of those have been hybrid animatronic / puppets. There's a video screen here hidden behind the Il Sabon puppet so that the actor can choose his victims. That's also how I choose my victims. Video screen. Snail! So, in some HHN houses, you survive. But this isn't one of them. This grave that El Muerte is digging is for you. See? It's right there on that tombstone. If I could read Spanish, I might have survived. Here's a little fact that I had no idea about before this tour. Before the houses are announced, they're still casting scare actors. But they can't tell them that they're going to be Freddy Krueger or they're going to go out and leak it immediately. So the code name for these secret characters is 441 or 442. So if you get cast as a named character, you could be playing 441 in the Flan House. And that doesn't mean anything to anyone, so go ahead and spoil away, spoiler boy. After lunch, we headed off towards the very, very back of the Universal property, where they've built the all-new sprung tents that are replacing the parade warehouses. These houses are the first houses that are finished every year, since they can work in the 4 sprung tents without having to worry about guests poking around. This year, the first house finished was Slaughter Cinema 2, which was fully show-ready and finished by May. Some of the fake trailers for that house were actually filmed in last year's sprung tent, including 32's The Darkest Deal, and a Universal Monsters Eternal Bloodlines. Beautiful first room with Saskia Van Helsing, taking up the role of vampire hunter to avenge her fallen father and brother. Here's where Saskia has broken into her secret weapons cache, taking up her crossbow to hunt some mummies and she-wolves. TM, I don't know if that's trademarked. The detail in these Romanian carts are so good. Okay, spoilers, Frank didn't make it. So much for all that work the bride did in her house. Cart's nailed, and I actually found this one on my own. Nobody had to tell me and point it out like they did for all the other ones. The dessert here is donut. That donut does not look delicious. I tried to lick it, but that's apparently prohibited. Universal and their silly rules. This music box is a reference to another more modern daughter of Dracula. It's Abigail from the recent Universal movie, Abigail. These ballet shoes are also a nod to her. The picture in this picture frame is a projection that allows it to morph into a sinister vampire. Or I guess they could show the latest movie releases, but probably it's for that first thing. Now, the Monsters house uses a lot of daisy chain scares. One scare actor triggers a scare from another actor, and then so on, and then another actor, and then so on, until you get like 8 scares and your heart stops and you die right there in the house, and that's called a hat trick. Oh wait, Universal has said that I have to read this statement. Universal is not trying to scare people to the point where they actually die. Wink! Oh, well, hold on, another statement. We did not authorize that wink. More spoilers, Saskia dies near the end of this house, and that was always Creative's intention. Saskia was created to be killed off so that it can advance the story of these female monsters, which we will definitely be seeing again. Especially the bride. I love the bride so much. I gotta stop dating dead people. I mean, I gotta not ever date a dead person for the first time. Hey, wait, the bride was able to bring back Frankenstein's monster, so maybe that means we haven't seen the last of Saskia? A monster hunter? It's a lot of monsters. Oh, Goblin's Feast, what a fun house. I mean, not a fun house. It was a fun, scare house. It doesn't matter. Immediately, we get a secret that I totally didn't see. It's right there on the facade. The Goblin's Feast banner is hiding the actual name of the building. Human Chop House! Well, if I knew that, I would have never gone inside. The dessert code name was Sunday, but I wasn't able to take pics in that room, so here's my drawing of what it looked like. I did that from memory. It's pretty good. I'm gonna put it on my refrigerator. They don't normally build ceilings on their houses because then they have to deal with increased fire code regulations. They felt it was important here to give the impression that you're making your way through the greenhouse of a goblin manor. Because of that, they had to add fire sprinklers. Well, actually, the sprinklers spray water, not fire. It's fire suppression. Never mind, you get it. The snail is somewhere here. I have no idea where. I was trailing behind everyone and completely missed it, so let that be a lesson to everyone. This giant hand is a reused prop. It was originally a giant Kong hand photo op from one of the past tribute stores. There's a lot of props and stairs that are actually above all of the action and out of sight when going through the houses. This is referred to internally as unnecessary scenery. But all scenery is necessary, right? Let's be positive to scenery. The slab tunnels are leading to the Royal Goblins as we're entering the castle under the tunnels and through the dungeon. The king either burps or farts, and I totally wasn't supposed to take this picture, so it's censored. Sorry, Universal. In this house, we actually survive as the last goblin can be heard saying, "The food is escaping!" That was a terrible accent. Last house, Major Suites. This house is set the day before the HHN 31 scare zone, so it's actually a prequel. The house is filled with rats, and in an effort to control them, they set traps filled with candy. The same candy that is making the kids go crazy. Great plan. Pie is the code name for Major Suites, and there it is. Again, don't eat it. The to-do list on Miss Treat's desk. Oh, Miss Treats? Like mistreat. Like mistreat somebody. I just got it. That's a good one. The to-do list on Miss Treat's desk includes dispose of health inspector's body and filing cabinet. And there he is. Check that one off. This is the start of the factory tour, but we don't go that way. We're entering the door to the right, so we're seeing the stuff that Major Suites doesn't want us to see. Starting with this movie projection that shows the candy being tested on kids and driving them into a murderous rage. The projection is constantly being obscured as the house conga line is routed intentionally in front of it. I think that's a great touch, so you kind of can't see it from all the shadows that are passing by. This is the first of the guest-activated triggers, known as GATs. If you grab candy, you're going to get a blast of air. The second trigger sprays the person in front and the person behind you with water. This is an exact recreation of the Major Suites truck from the scare zone. Look at that license plate, 33. How far they planned these houses in advance, or in this case, how incredibly lucky they got. No conspiracy here, it's just a coincidence. This prop had to be specially made from a fiberglass body that could handle all the water being constantly pumped through it. Because of the costs associated with it, we'll probably be seeing this prop in houses for years to come. Snail, right there in the dark. Took me 6 minutes to find him. Third trigger, and I have no idea what this one did. Maybe sprays you with water, I don't know. I was lagging behind the tour trying to find that stupid snail. Speaking of which, I got really spooked here because I could have sworn that somebody was behind this. I got really creeped out but never saw anyone. I did get caught by my wife Lauren running to catch up and looked super scared, so it's not a great manly moment. I've never had a great manly moment. Someday. Wax lips. Wait, those aren't all wax lips, are they? See what I did there? Some of them are real lips. Ultimately, we're crushed to death before leaving, because if anyone survived, they would have stopped the scare zone from happening, which would create a paradox and unravel the entire universe. And that's the tour. They let us go back to our pathetically boring lives. This is an amazing tour. I can't say enough good things about it, and these tour guides are great at what they do. If you're even remotely interested in seeing these houses up close, then you have to do one next time you're in the fog. And now, I gotta lay down. That was a lot of scripting that just happened, and reliving it all has made me long for the days of walking through scare zones and experiencing the fear of HHN 33. I need to go book another flight. You know, there's still a whole month left.